Hello everybody, my name is Akira and I'm back with a brand new video, and today Man City and Chelsea face some serious allegations that could lead to both teams being relegated. And in this video I will tell you that I don't think relegating these two teams is a viable option for the Premier League, but I'm going to say that I do think that Chelsea's charges are lesser than Man City's charges based on what I've heard from people and little of what I've read from other news outlets, because guess what? They're behind a paywall. But what I've read about the Chelsea charges, I mean, of course, it puts some fear into my heart of what could happen to Chelsea in such a delicate position that we are in right now. But it looks like it's a brown envelope type of situation regarding Eden Hazard's agent and the transfer of Willian, the Brazilian genius. So what I've read is that basically there were under the table transactions made to Willian and to his agent to coerce him to not sign for Tottenham and sign for Chelsea instead. And of course some other details. I mean, I don't know much more details regarding the Eden Hazard situation, but the fact that this was off the books, I think that's the main problem, because I don't think that these transactions would have took us over FFP. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think that's the case like the Everton situation. So yes, I think we'll have a lot of charges, but the severity of those charges are very different. Like stealing and murder, one charge but different magnitude, and that's what I think is the deciding factor of what a punishment should be, not the quantity but the quality of those charges. And the Majestic situation is very complex. Seems like it's going for like 10 years now, how they're using sponsorships, boosting up the revenue, boosting up the FFP. So I do think Majestic's charges are way more as well. No matter how severe they are, I don't think they can get relegated. Should they, we'll have to wait and see what the verdict is, and we'll have to wait and see about that. But the fact is, we're being compared to the Everton situation, but that's the FFP situation. Everton spent more than what they're supposed to. The thing about Chelsea is, if let's say we paid 10 million to Willian, would that have taken us over our FFP limit? I know it was under the table, you know, like, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a table here. I'm waiting under the table. Okay, never mind, I guess we can't see that, but I know it's under the table. And of course we should be charged, but is a point deduction worth it? I mean, it could be, but I do think Spurs could sue us, because of course we basically stole a player that was basically guaranteed to go to them. So Spurs could sue us, and of course we could pay a fee. But let's say the worst comes to worst for both clubs, and relegation is a viable option for both Premier League teams. Obviously that will destroy both teams immediately. It will absolutely disintegrate them. The revenue they'll make, it will be basically non-existent. Yes, it'll bring more attention. Yes, it will bring more attention to the lower leagues, and that's the slight plus. But as the football clubs, as the players, of course, they'll leave and they'll disintegrate like dust falling through your hands. There will just be nothing more, like Peter Parker in Infinity War. But I don't think the Premier League can afford to relegate two mammoths of football teams, two of the top 6. I don't think it's viable, because if you think about the revenue that they make, obviously I do think these two teams can make up to maybe 5%, 10% of the total revenue of the Premier League, all things considered. Of course, these are small percentages, and it could be even smaller. It can be 1 or 2% or whatever the small thing, but these are astronomical numbers. These are great numbers. If you think about the revenues where these two teams face themselves, Man City and Chelsea, I mean, those are one of the staples fixtures in the Premier League, as we saw with the 4-4 draw recently. And of course, if you think about Chelsea versus Tottenham, Chelsea versus Arsenal, Chelsea versus Liverpool, Manchester United, these are key revenue streams with a lot of eyes on it, a lot of TV revenue for the Premier League. And now, can they just throw it all away for a bunch of charges? And I don't think so. So what I would do, worst case comes to worst, hopefully, of course, we aren't Everton, so these are different things, of course, like how you would see preferential treatment of key players like Lionel Messi, like Ronaldo on the pitch. I think it'll be a very similar thing that happens here, very similar. I think what the Premier League should do is like, okay, I do think a lot of clubs have done what Chelsea have done to some magnitude. So if they relegate them, I do think they'll have to relegate a bunch of teams later on down the road, because it seems like such a simple thing to do what Chelsea did rather than what Man City did. So what I would do is this. I would say, okay, for Chelsea, you will have to pay Tottenham a fine, and for the next 2 transfer windows, you won't be able to spend any money. That's harsh, but I think it's better than a point deduction. For Man City's case, will be very, very interesting what happens, because they've won trebles, they've won. Also, I would like to say, would UEFA get into this? Because Man City and Chelsea are the last 2 winners of this. Liverpool, I think Liverpool are the 3rd behind us or whatever. I don't know. But these are the last 2 recent teams to win the Champions League. And now UEFA and Premier League has something in it. So is it possible for UEFA to step in and say, wait a minute, these guys basically cheated and they won a competition. So can UEFA sue the Prem or the FA, whatever they are? I don't know how, but that would be a slight concern to me, because if you revoke their titles, then if you revoke Man City's titles, then you'll have to revoke the Champions League as well, because it's in the same season, especially the treble winning season. So it's very interesting there. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that, but that's a very interesting thought that I had. But I don't think revoking their titles will, obviously on paper, I mean, Manchester United will won some, Liverpool would have won a few, and I think that's basically it. So those 2 teams will benefit on paper. But how about, obviously as fans, you'll know bragging rights and all that, but of course, there won't be any pictures. There won't be any pictures. It'll just be like rewriting paper. And of course, I don't think they'll get any more money from those alleged ones unless they sue Man City as well, and then Man City will disintegrate. But I don't think that's a viable option as well, because I think it's very complicated. It is viable, but it gets a bit weedy. So for Man City's case, I'll say, okay, you guys absolutely messed up, and basically you guys won't be able to spend money for 10 years based on what you've won. The squad you have now is basically all you're going to have. That's harsh, but depending on the severity of their charges, it's something like that to happen, because the Premier League can't afford to lose these 2 jobs. These 2 clubs, especially Man City, because Man City are the best team in the world right now. So I think that was spring a lot of shade on the Premier League internationally and all over the world. And again, UEFA might step into it. I don't know what else could happen. This thing needs to be contained, and damage control needs to happen. The Premier League, as much as I hate to say, needs to shield Man City and Chelsea. More Man City than Chelsea because of the severity of it. But they need to shield these teams, because this can explode into... I mean, I don't even know the worst case scenario. I'm just saying this is how bad it could get, but it can always get worse. You know, Murphy's Law. It can always get worse. You know, when you're in a knee, when you're knee deep in shit, you can always swim. You know, that's the expression, and that's what things can happen. I don't know what are your thoughts on this. Of course, there has to be some punishment, but it can be lenient. It can be a slap on the wrist, can be a slap across the face, or frankly, it can be a spank up the bum. Say, don't do that again, you hear me? You little scoundrel, you. And frankly, Chelsea's charges, they're easier to do, so I would assume that other clubs have done it or something like that. Of course, it'd be harsh to smaller clubs like Everton will get 10-point deduction for basically 1 charge with like 20 million over FFP. That makes me think, okay, if Chelsea thing affected the FFP, like they went over it, then I'll understand the point deduction. Man City things is absolutely huge. I mean, absolutely gargantuan what they did and what they're alleged to do, which I think they did, because I mean, I hate Man City. You know, they're such a plastic synthetic club. You know, it's absolutely abhorrent. Yeah, those are my thoughts right now, and frankly, all that's left for me to say is wish all of you a very good day. Bye-bye.